Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Shaka Hislop and Stevie Nicol. Later on in the show, Luis and Robert will be here to look ahead to Barca against Atleti in La Liga. But we'll kick things off by reflecting on what happened in the top of the table clash yesterday in the Premier League. Of course, 1-1 between Chelsea and Arsenal. But it was the manner of the game, the feistiness of it, that certainly dominates the headlines. Socket to him. Enzo sees red. Blue see red over cards. There are 7 yellow cards, of course, in total. 25 fouls between the two of them. Was almost like a South American feel to this tie. Chelsea won, though. Arsenal won is how it finishes. We welcome in Mario Malchiot. Mario was at the game. Mario, when did you know that this was going to be a feisty affair?
Friday.
As soon as they kicked off from the first minute, it was already heated. You know, It was like it's kicked off already. The funny part was, prior to the game kicked off, I bumped into Reece James in the tunnel. And so he comes over, and the way I could see the stare in his eyes already that he was ready, he greeted me, he went back into the dressing room, and I knew, okay, let's see what's going to happen. They come out. Wow, they were ready. They were ready to... I felt like, okay, the red card, of course, they implemented a little bit more into the team, I think. And the way he played the game was like how... we experience, all the guys sitting there experience a proper derby. Like, you really go at it and you show, like, as a captain, you got to set the tone and lead the team. And I think he did that from the first minute. A lot of fouls, but it's also the game needs that. Why do I say the game needs that? It's not that I want a game that people start kicking each other, but I like passion. When passion is on the field, I think you see that both teams want to win the game. And I think regardless if you had a red card, Chelsea still tried to win the game, and that was really impressive for me.
There was talk, Stevie, that maybe Arsenal fell into Chelsea's trap a little bit. And then they started to fight fire with fire instead of just sticking to their game. Is that a fair criticism?
No, not at all. I don't go with that whatsoever. Zero. I mean, what are you supposed to do when somebody's throwing the flames at you? You're supposed to just run away?
Right.
No, you've got to stand up for yourself. And that's what
So is that what you did like when Liverpool was so dominant back in the day?
Absolutely.
But how much does that not break up your flow a little bit, in the fact you're more interested in fighting than football?
No, because you've got to win the fight first. Once you win the fight, then you can play your football. Everybody tries to do it the other way around. But if you've got a team like Chelsea who are not going to stand by and let you play your football, and they're going to throw things at you, then you have to stand up and be strong, and that's what it was. And Caicedo was the only one that really stepped over the mark.
Okay.
Everybody else stood up and took the punches, basically. And as a player, you can't ask or accept anything other than that. I mean, it's one of the things I miss most about playing, the physical contact.
Kicking people.
No, I wouldn't put it that way. Just the physical contact. Sometimes you come out the injured one, but if you're smart, the majority of the time, you're the one that comes out.
So
on
what was
top.
it about it? Like, early on in the game, it's going to be this sort of tie for 90 minutes, and that would get you going?
Well, yeah. Well, it's coming for a period of time.
Right.
Because when I was watching the game, just before the red card, I'm thinking, who's going to flag first?
Okay.
Because the pace of the game was ferocious. The intensity was great. Everybody's getting smashed in, as you said. It was magic to watch. But I did wonder who was going to calm down or cool down or run out of steam first. In the end, the game sort of, although it stayed intense, it did sort of cool down a little after the red card. So that took care of that.
It was intense, I think, is a good way to describe
I thought it was an outstanding game to watch. And credit to Chelsea, and not just for the job they did with 10 men. I thought they dictated the pace, to your point, that the game, certainly would start with. And Arsenal had to match it. I'm fully with Stevie. You have to match. You have to win the fight before you can settle down and play the football. Now, there's one thing with a team lower down the table, playing at that tempo. If they don't have the quality, if they don't have the understanding of how to press, it's easy to pass through a team playing at tempo without any real structure. Chelsea or no. Chelsea, a lot of people are looking at the Sunderland performance against Arsenal and pointing to that as an example as to how to get the better of Arsenal. And with the greatest respect to Chelsea, you could see that, they were willing to take that physical step to Arsenal, but they just have far more quality than Sunderland. So they were able to play the football that you saw. They were able to press as high up, be as physical as they were, and be rewarded for it, even with 10 men on the park. I think the most amazing thing about the Chelsea performance for me is, if you'd asked me who was easily Chelsea's most important player in the build-up to this game, I'd have said Moses Caicedo, no question. Yet he's off after, 29 minutes. And there is no drop of quality, no drop of intensity from Chelsea with 10 men. And I think that speaks a lot to, one, the job that Reece James did in midfield, but two, and more to the point, the other 10 on the park, how they organised, the change at half-time. I thought seeing Chelsea manage, who I still believe are easily the best team in the league, in the way that they did with 10 men, was something to witness.
You think back to, about this time last season, Mario, we were talking about Chelsea doing well, top of the table. Maresca came out and said, wait, we are not title contenders. Has that narrative changed now, 12 months on?
No, because, I said it to myself. I said, this was not the season that I would look at them being title contenders. Why? Because of all the instability that they went through. So after the game, I spoke to him. This was one of the questions that I asked him. I said, what is your goal? What do you want to achieve now? He said, look, the players are really well, I like my team. We are full of talents in the team. I was happy with the game that we played today, and you saw it. I had real belief, because I asked him, I said, how could you go for a win when you are playing arguably against one of the best teams in your league and you still try to get your win? He goes, because I have real trust in those talents that I possess in my team. So he said, I knew we could win the game if it maybe got more to our side. He said, but we knew it was going to be tough. I'm not no disrespect to Arsenal, he said. He said, but I knew we could win it. But then also he highlighted and he said, look, I don't want to say that we can go for the title, because that is not fair. He said, but next season I want to go for it. And then I said to him, yeah, you probably have to go for it. And he goes, yeah, we have to go for it next season. So this season doesn't see it like that, but you're still second in the league, and people are still going to watch you, or now third, but still people are going to watch you and say to you, look, hey, you're that high up, why don't you go all the way? And then Reece James goes, yeah, we want to win everything. But deep down, we know how he was last season too when he was high up. He kind of said that, but he meant different. In this way, I have no doubt that he will say, guys, if we can catch it, we'll take it.
What is that? What's that all about?
You tell me. Is this mind games?
I sat here last year and he said the same thing. Mm-hmm. If I'm a Chelsea player, I don't want to hear it. How about who gets to pick and choose what year they win the league?
Sure.
It's absolute nonsense. If you can produce...
Yeah, but Stevie, you don't think he's going to say that in the team? In the team, he doesn't say that.
Of course he has to.
We have
Mario,
to say with our coaches.
If you're Chelsea
only
players and you perform the way that you did, right, against Arsenal, that's what you're capable of. Why can't you try and play to that standard every time you get on the field? And if you do that, then you've got a chance of winning the league. So how about you be positive and just make sure that everybody has got the same standard. Now, the manager and the coach, whatever you like to call him, is going to know better than anybody else what he thinks his players are capable of over a certain period of time. But that's all good and well. But how about you positively tell them, hey, if you do this every time you step on the field, we can win this league. If you think they're ready or not, I
have
don't
no
know,
doubt
but
he's
we
telling
can
them,
do it.
He's telling them that. You know that, Stevie. We played the game.
I actually don't,
Mario. You had the same thing.
I actually don't. I don't know that.
No, but I'm saying we had all coaches that sometimes said something else to the press, but in-house that said something totally different. And with him, I have that feeling. What he says to the press is different what he says to the team, because when he came out and he stood next, the way he was talking and the way he was acting, he didn't give me that feeling.
You're the Chelsea boy.
Yeah. You're right about that, but I'm just telling you.
You're in the house. Why would he not tell you? He knows you're part of the Chelsea family, basically. Why? If he doesn't want to tell the press or anybody else, that's fine.
He was interviewing him, to be fair, wasn't he? He wasn't like they weren't having a cup of tea.
The camera was on.
I didn't know he was interviewing him, but yeah, I don't believe that.
No, the camera was on. Sorry,
the
camera was on.
When the camera went off.
Yeah.
He's going, "Way, we're going to win the league."
That's a difference.
The thing that got me going was when he said about, well, maybe next year.
Yeah.
And the first thing that came in was, hold on a second, you can't pick and choose when you win the Premier League.
So why one tone to the press and one tone in theory to players, Shaq? Why not come out and get the Chelsea supporters behind you, and instead of talking about next year, talk about this year?
Yeah, and listen,
We've already beaten Barcelona. We held Arsenal. You know, we're looking great.
I have no problem with to your phrasing, one tone to the press, one tone to the players. Certainly right now in November, going into in early December, and it's still a 6-point gap. I think everybody still would make Arsenal as favourites to win the title right now. But I also think that this game changes the feeling, if not the rhetoric, around Chelsea. Because, as I said, coming into this game, I would have thought the one player Chelsea cannot do without is Moses Caicedo. And look what they performed. Now they have set their standard as to who they are, who they can be. And while 6 points right now feels like a lot, kind of given how consistent Arsenal may be, if Chelsea continue to produce these kinds of performances, in the league at least, they are probably better positioned, given that 90 minutes we saw from them, to run Arsenal down than Manchester City. That's given that 90 minutes. Now they've got to continue replicating that kind of form, that kind of performance. But even so, it's still a big ask. Right now, I have no issue with Maresca saying two different things to two different audiences, as long as what he's saying to the players is, listen, we can win this.
Miguel, good to see you. Let's start with some injury updates.
Yeah.
William Saliba, what have you got for us?
I'm not going to be able to help you much today because we have another training session later on. Until that happens, we won't know what's going to happen with a few of the doubts that we have.
Did he have any testing yesterday, though? What is the nature of his injury?
Yeah, he had a little niggle, but I think it's going to be a matter of days. So let's see if he's able to do that tomorrow.
So matter of days for William. Leandro?
Matter of days as well.
Matter of days too. Kai Havertz?
Matter of weeks.
Matter of weeks.
I think so. Yeah.
So do you think end of the month?
I don't know. Let's see how it evolves in the next few weeks. He's doing really well. He's doing stuff on the pitch, but I think he needs some time.
And how's Gabby doing?
Which Gabby?
Gabriel.
We have a lot. We've been one on the staff now.
Yeah, so the one on the treatment table right now.
Big Gabby. Big Gabby is doing very well as well, but I mean that's weeks as well.
That's weeks. Okay, look, let's focus on Brentford. It's a busy week. It's a busy period for you. Is this an opportunity to rotate the squad, or is it a necessity to rotate the squad?
That's an opportunity tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Everybody, 7:30 p.m. kickoff to be at the Emirates, bouncing and putting energy to win the game. That's the opportunity that we have tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Like animals, everybody at the Emirates to go again and beat Brentford. That's the opportunity.
So you see this Brentford game as
vital, massive, yes.
In a busy week, is that a challenge for you as a coach to make sure players are motivated, knowing that what you've got to come Saturday lunchtime at Villa Park, then back to Champions League the week after?
No, because our motivation comes from preparation and how we prepare for every game to try to be better than the opposition. And where we are in the league and what we are doing, I mean, I don't think we need any more motivation than that.
And look, it's a vital fixture, but I talked about rotation. We've seen a lot of minutes for Declan Rice had a really busy week, full-on week. During Timber, exactly the same. Are they the sort of players that potentially you could rest them a little bit against Brentford?
We try to manage every case, every individual in relation to how they feel in the context of the matches, but just with the only purpose to have the best options on the pitch and to come to be better than the opponent. That's it.
Opportunity for Ben White tomorrow?
Opportunity for everybody, as I said.
Okay, let's talk about Brentford and their physicality. Physicality seems to have been maybe a bit more of a challenge for your side this year when we think about Stadium like and Sunderland, a very physical side. Certainly what happened at Stamford Bridge on Sunday. How prepared are you for the challenge that Brentford will offer, particularly that incredibly long throw of Michael Chiodi?
Yeah. Well, that physicality comes from different areas in relation to the pitch, but I think every game that we play, when you look at intensity in the Premier League against any opponent, what is needed is incredible, and Brentford brings different threats, different challenges, as we all know, and you need to dominate that if you want to win the game.
A final one from me, Mikel. Danny Farke had some comments after his game against Manchester City about Donnarumma holding the ball, going down injured, taking a couple of minutes out of the game while Pep Guardiola was giving instructions on the sideline. He felt like it wasn't something that he likes to see. What's your opinion? Are we seeing that more, and not necessarily just from goalkeepers, but from outfield players going down at certain times of the game to kill time and maybe take the momentum out of games? Are we seeing it more, and is it something that maybe we should look at eradicating from the game in some way possible?
The game evolves, the rules evolve, and that's going to be constant. And you look in the Premier League now how many minutes are we playing, actually the effective time that we are playing, the effective time that we played on Sunday. There is a lot of things to look at and evolve. So that's an example, but there are many others that constantly the game and the rules has to be evolving because everybody tries to take an edge.
Can you understand Danny Farke's frustration though?
Yeah, especially when you are in the other side. Yeah.
Thanks, Mikel.
Thanks, Jack. We'll go to Neil from the Premier League.
Hi, Mikel. Good to see you. Declan Rice won the FSA Men's Player of the Year award, voted by the supporters across the UK. I can imagine when Declan joined just over 2 years ago, you had certain expectations of him. How much he exceeded those expectations?
I think he's very close to what we believe that he could bring to the club, to the team, and the way he could grow personally as well. And I think he fully deserves it. I think he's been incredibly consistent throughout the last 2 years. Last season again in big matches, in big moments, he's stepping up, which is a massive thing. You want to fulfill that role at a big club, and I'm delighted that he got it.
Can I ask you about another Mikel Merino? When he joined Arsenal, he already played over 200 games in the La Liga, won the Euros with Spain, a well-established midfielder. In your wildest dreams, did you ever imagine he'll become such a good striker? And as a manager as well, how much flexibility is giving you?
Yeah, as a striker, certainly not. But that's the thing as well that you learn when you sign a player. I knew that he could offer much more than what he had, and especially after I met him for the first time, because a player that has that amount of curiosity and the amount of question that he's asked, how will he is to learn constantly, the way he loves his profession and football. Yeah, it's difficult to put limits to that, because when someone wants to grow every single day, is that determined, that hungry to win and evolve and to be part of something, that's very powerful, and Mikel certainly has that.
Can I please ask you about Christian Norgard? And the last time Brentford managed to beat Arsenal, he scored the second goal. What made you decide that Christian is the right fit for Arsenal, and what are the chances of him being involved tomorrow against his former side?
Well, what I saw on the pitch, and then everything that I heard about him as a leader, and the role that he can fulfill, and the role that he was going to have here. And the moment I picked up the phone and spoke to him, he was super excited to join us. He brings something that we don't have in the squad, and I'm very happy to have him.
Ian, talk to me.
Hi Mikel, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Goalkeepers, you've been speaking about how things are evolution regarding rules around goalkeepers. Your goalkeeper you brought in over 2 years ago now is approaching 100 Premier League games for you. Not a bad goalkeeper.
It's an amazing goalkeeper, and yeah, it's a great story as well, and how it happened, because as well we tried to sign David much earlier. I think it was as soon as I arrived, almost, and he had to wait for another 2 years, and the start that he had and the journey that we had together, I think it's been phenomenal for us, and very happy to have him.
We're playing this old team tomorrow. In terms of signings you've made, because you spent £100 million on Declan Rice, a lot of money on other players, pound for pound, is he the best signing you've made?
No. Very difficult question to answer, but it's certainly one that is taking us to a different level, and it's certainly a player that has brought something different to our way of playing.
Both teams like to score from set pieces. Does that mean that we're not going to see too many goals from open play tomorrow?
I don't know, but I don't know what team in the Premier League doesn't like to score from set pieces.
You see that as a badge of honour then, rather than a criticism?
Well, we just consider a goal against Chelsea on a set piece, and they scored 7 corners. We scored 8, no? So I think we should all be set piece teams because we always score and concede from set pieces, unfortunately.
Finally, just quickly about the fans, you said to make sure that they're on time for the game against Brentford. A lot of managers
before the game, not on time, just before.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of managers this week have had to answer questions about maybe their fans being a bit more positive towards their team. Your fans at the moment are just ultra positive towards your team. They couldn't be any more positive, could they?
Yeah, you can always be more, and especially when you play a different type of game, that's where you have to lift the standards and the team the first and ourselves as well, with the way we're going to play tomorrow, to lift everybody and make sure that we produce the same energy, atmosphere, and positivity around the place.
Thank you. Good luck.
Alex, BBC.
Hi, Miguel. I wanted to ask you about the injuries. You got Victor Gyökeres and Gabriel Jesus back into the squad on Sunday, but at the same time you lost William Saliba. Kind of been a theme of the season, key players picking up injury. How frustrating has that been for you throughout the season so far? Yeah,
especially how we lost them with Leo as well, because Leo was in a great moment, and Gabi Martinelli was just coming back, and we had to manage his minutes. He wasn't able to play more than what he did on Sunday. So managing that, the fact that obviously Willie trained the day before and then he wasn't uncomfortable. Players not training in certain position, having to play there. But again, the attitude towards it and the way the players are performing and giving absolutely everything they can to fulfill those absences has been the key of the season, because we have to deal with a lot already.
And last season, those injury problems were probably the worst you've experienced in your managerial career. Did that prepare you for this season? Obviously you have better squad depth, but what you learned last season, has that helped you to get through this tricky period?
Yes, because this season has been worse in some areas, especially in the front line, and now what's happening with the back line. But yeah, I mean, we learned and we were able to put that together, a squad that is much more reliable and have more options. We learned from the past as well that we have to use players in different positions and they have to be able to fulfill different roles if we want to compete at this level. And the example of Mikel that we were discussing before is just the best one probably.
Simon Standard.
Mikel, just on Kai, Julian Nagelsmann said a few weeks ago that he'd suffered a setback. Is that why he's not going to be back until possibly January? Is that what the issue is?
Yeah, so he was doing everything. He could not go to the next level, and now it's looking like we have unlocked that, and we're all desperate to have him. I mean, it's a player that personally I love so much for what he brings to the team, but his character, his personality, I see him suffer being outside. His playing record is phenomenal. He's been always available, and I can't wait to have him back around the team playing, because I think it's going to be a massive boost for the team.
And just on Declan, when he joined, you described him as a lighthouse. I just wonder how you would describe him now, and also you made a big point the past 6 months tying down all these key players, Gabriel, Saliba, Ethan Miles. Is he someone else on your list that you're looking at and thinking, I'd like to tie him down for 5 or 6 years?
That's the way I perceived him, that he could potentially be a lighthouse, and now he's become a lighthouse, which is very difficult to do a big club like Arsenal, but he fully deserves that. He's done it with every step in the way, first of all behaving, acting, and with performance and attitudes that are at the highest level. And yeah, he's one that I'm sure, myself for sure, the club for sure, I'm going to have him here for many years.
Tom, football.
Hi Mikel, you described the Chelsea game as a learning match. With the wins over Bayern and Spurs, you could almost describe the week as a learning week. And I'm curious what lessons you did learn from a week of really tough games where you nearly got 3 wins from 3 and came very close.
Yeah. Well, starting from Spurs, I learned because I learned a lot as well about the international break again and what happened. For example, what happened with Gavi and how can we correct that and never happening again. Then we played a game in a way that again we have to learn, and watching them, you always learn from it. Bayern Munich brought different qualities, players that you don't see weekly, but we need the potential of it, and obviously what they were doing, and we took a lot from them, and the last weekend the same, and the amount of games that you have to play within a game, and what happened at Stamford Bridge in that sense it's enormous because something is the perception of what happened, and after is actually what happened and why it happened. So it was a huge learning.
And James touched on this earlier, but the aggressiveness that Chelsea showed on Sunday, it was similar, and it was compared almost to the aggressiveness that Sunderland also showed in their games. 2 games where Arsenal did drop points. I think teams are going to look at that and see a blueprint. Maybe if we're aggressive, we can maybe get something from Arsenal. So how do you have to cope with perhaps the future aggressiveness that you might face from other teams?
I think every team in the Premier League, the first thing that they do is be aggressive. I mean, I don't think that's going to be something that teams are going to change at all. You take it to certain extremes, hopefully that will be looked after, like it should have been in the first action of the game on kickoff with Mosquera. But we have to deal, again, learn from it and use it in a better way, because we should have exploded what we had for a period of time. It wasn't 60 minutes because from 33 to 39 we didn't play, and then it was Piero and I played on the floor, and the next 4 minutes we didn't play, so almost a part of the second half.
Thank you.
Hi, Mikel. I think around this time last year you mentioned with all these kind of games around the festive period, it's kind of hard to even get training sessions regularly, and I was just wondering, in those periods, do you have to kind of alter the way you prepare for games, and how does that work? Do you have to focus on something that's maybe a bit more mental than physical, and how do you kind of work around that?
Yeah, there is a balance to it, obviously, and depending, sometimes we play 3 days after, sometimes 4 days after. Obviously, the schedule brings now a scenario that is 3 and 3. So yeah, we are used to it. We alter the preparation, probably in the physical part a little bit more, but just rely much more on principles and what we have to do, and then tweak what we have to do in relation as well to the opponent's strengths and weaknesses.
And you spoke about sequences as well, sequences of games, and how you can kind of build consistency with, I guess, different types of formations and stuff like that. Is that something you can see in terms of kind of seeing games as blocks and kind of mapping it out like that?
Yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes you play against back four or teams that are very direct and rely or want to take the game everything to a restart or a set piece. Other teams that they are completely different. We face for a period of time a lot of back fives and low blocks. Then this block of 3 games has been different. So yeah, depending. Sometimes you are luckier that you say, okay, now for this period, this is going to help us for the next few games, and sometimes you just have to alter game by game.
And just on Saliba, with his injuries this season, I think they've been quite random, it seems. Is that how you see it? Because I think with the Anfield one, it was a twisted ankle.
Yeah.
And then how's this one come about? You mentioned he was uncomfortable in training.
Well, the ankle one, it was a really random and very unlucky action that kept him out for a few weeks. He tried at Anfield, he wasn't comfortable, and he had to stay away. And this one as well, very busy.
Mikel Arteta has made it clear that Arsenal will need to unleash their complete player against Bayern Munich. The Gunners host the German champions at the Emirates Stadium on Wednesday, and one man in particular could be decisive. Ebereki Eze, described as a very complete player by teammate Mikel Merino, is emerging as one of Arsenal's most dangerous weapons ahead of their Champions League clash with Bayern. The 27-year-old announced himself in North London with a stunning hat-trick in his first derby since arriving in a £67.5 million move from Crystal Palace. His 3 brilliant goals dismantled Tottenham, and truthfully, he could have scored even more. Merino believes every one of Arsenal's 8 summer signings has lifted the squad's level, helping the team build a 6-point lead at the top of the Premier League. But Wednesday's matchup is different. Bayern Munich, the reigning Bundesliga champions, represent the toughest test yet for Arteta's side. Speaking after the win over Spurs, Merino praised Eze's qualities and hinted at the impact he could have in such a high-stakes European battle. "We've brought in a lot of players who can make a difference. But you can see that other teams have spent big as well," the Spain international said. "Individual brilliance can win matches, sure, but in the end, it's the team that matters. If you have great players who don't connect, that's a problem. The good thing about this group is that everyone thinks about the team first." When asked about Eze specifically, Merino didn't hesitate. "I think he's incredibly complete. He can dribble, he can pass, and his technical quality is outstanding. In Spain, we always talk about players who can connect with others. He has that naturally. He grew up with that instinct to link play, move the ball, and build relationships on the pitch. He also has the mindset to get involved, demand the ball, and influence the game. At the same time, he's strong, he can take players on, and he can finish. He's a truly complete signing. Merino also touched on how the modern game often reduces players to simple numbers. These days everyone judges players by goals and assists, that's just how it is. But as footballers, we see the deeper qualities he brings, the technique, the movement, the intelligence. Even in training, you can tell immediately how special he is. Yes, he's scoring goals, but he's much more than that. He's an exceptional player, and we're incredibly lucky to have him. He can play in several positions and adapt to different systems. He's been a huge addition for Arsenal. Beyond the technical qualities, Merino believes Iza's attitude, and the healthy competition within the squad, will be crucial in Arsenal's title push. You can hear the calm in Eberechi's voice and see it in the way he carries himself. He's confident, grounded, and every morning we sit together in the sauna at the training ground and talk about everything, he added with a smile. He's a great guy, already fully integrated, and we need players like him. Competition is fierce. There's so much quality in this squad. That's exactly what the manager wanted, as many top players as possible, all ready to play. It makes his decisions tough, choosing who starts and who doesn't, but it also pushes every one of us to give our best in every session. And that's why we're improving as a team. As Arsenal prepare for Bayern's arrival, Arteta is facing one of the most delicate balancing acts of the season. The squad is healthy, competition is fierce, and expectations have never been higher. But behind the scenes, there is a growing sense that Iza's versatility and calm presence may be essential against a Bayern side known for controlling the tempo in big European nights. Arteta himself has hinted at Iza's importance without naming him directly. After the Tottenham victory, the manager spoke about the need for players who can break pressure, dictate rhythm, and stay composed when the game becomes chaotic. Those inside the club believe those comments were aimed at Iza as much as anyone. The coaching staff has been particularly impressed by how quickly he has adapted to Arsenal's positional play structure, a system that demands far more tactical discipline than what he was used to at Crystal Palace. Analysts at the club point to his growing influence not only in the final third, but also in build-up phases, where his ability to glide past pressure could help Arsenal bypass Bayern's aggressive midfield line. There is also an awareness that Bayern's fullbacks tend to push high, leaving spaces between the lines. Iza's skill set, sharp turns, deceptive acceleration, and precise final balls, could be exactly what Arteta needs to exploit those gaps. Outside the club, pundits have already started circling Wednesday's match as a defining moment for the £67.5 million signing. Some believe that if Iza can impose himself on a Champions League quarter-final against Bayern Munich, it will confirm his arrival among Europe's elite creative players. Former players have echoed that sentiment. Several ex-Arsenal figures, speaking on television over the weekend, highlighted the need for someone who can change the temperature of the match with a moment of calm or an unexpected burst of creativity. Iza, they argued, is one of the few in the squad capable of both. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich come into the match with their own confidence. Their midfield trio has been one of the most dominant in Europe this season, and they have shown a repeated ability to suffocate opponents early. That dynamic is precisely why Arteta may lean on Iza's composure. When the game tightens, Arsenal will need a player capable of slowing it down, protecting the ball, and finding solutions in tight spaces. Within Arsenal's dressing room, Merino's praise reflects a broader consensus. Senior players have reportedly been struck by Iza's humility and work ethic, qualities that have helped him integrate seamlessly into a squad that already had strong internal chemistry. Staff members describe him as someone who never forces the game, and lets the match come to him, characteristics that could prove invaluable in a high-tension Champions League tie. As kickoff approaches, the narrative surrounding the match has shifted. What began as a test of Arsenal's resilience has quietly become a spotlight on whether Iza can elevate them in Europe the same way he has in the Premier League. For Arteta, the equation is simple. If Arsenal are to overcome Bayern, they will need more than intensity. They will need control. They will need creativity. And increasingly, they will need the completeness Iza brings to every phase of the pitch. Whether he starts in a wide role as a floating midfielder, or even as an interior playmaker, the expectation is the same. Iza will have to find the spaces others cannot, and influence the game in ways that statistics alone will not capture. The stakes are high, the opponent is formidable, and the spotlight is intense. But within the walls of London Coney, the belief is growing that this is exactly the kind of stage Eberechi Iza was signed for. Martin Odergard is nearing a return to action after suffering a medial collateral ligament injury in Arsenal's 2-0 win over West Ham earlier in October. Yet, 3.5 years after Mikel Arteta named him captain, the Norwegian finds himself in an unfamiliar position. His place in the starting lineup is no longer guaranteed. For the first time since joining the club permanently from Real Madrid in August 2021, there is real debate over whether he remains an automatic choice for Arteta's 11. Odegaard, now 26, has been central to Arsenal's resurgence under Arteta, the conductor who shaped the team's rhythm through some of their most fluid football. But this season, the Gunners have been forced to navigate long stretches without their captain, first due to a shoulder issue that kept him out of 4 matches in September, and then because of a knee collision with West Ham's Crescencio Somerville that sidelined him again. And during his absence, something significant happened. Ebereki Eze stepped into the spotlight. Eze's sensational hat-trick in the North London Derby has complicated the picture. Now thriving in a central role, the England international has given Arsenal a different kind of presence around the edge of the box. A blend of unpredictability, directness, and two-footed confidence that opponents struggle to contain. He may not control games with the same metronomic precision as Odegaard, but he offers a spark, a willingness to take risks at moments when Arsenal need a jolt of creativity. After such a standout performance against Tottenham, it feels almost impossible to imagine Arteta leaving Eze out. The manager has always had a soft spot for players riding a wave of confidence, and Eze is currently surfing at full height. There was a similar situation back in September, when Merino was handed a start against Manchester City after scoring 4 times in 2 games for Spain, including a hat-trick against Turkey. Arteta doesn't hesitate to reward form. Eze has carried that form onto the international stage as well, recently scoring a stunning goal for England in a 2-0 win over Serbia in the World Cup qualifiers at Wembley. Though he can play on the left, it has always been clear that Arteta brought him to the Emirates to operate in midfield. And with Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi near untouchable in the double pivot, the odds of Eze and Odegaard consistently starting together seem slim. That leaves Odegaard in an unfamiliar position. He needs minutes to rebuild sharpness, yet Arsenal's medical team won't rush him. The plan is likely to ease him back through short substitute appearances before restoring him to larger roles. But even once fully fit, Odegaard faces genuine competition, because Eze has shifted the landscape. His arrival has raised the team's ceiling, and his performances have earned him the right to keep his place. Before the dismantling of Tottenham, Eze had scored only twice for Arsenal, one against Port Vale in the Carabao Cup and another versus his former club Crystal Palace, a clever finish that sealed victory. Now with 5 goals across all competitions, he sits just 1 behind Odegaard's total from last season, when the captain made 45 appearances. Odegaard's 2023-24 numbers were outstanding: 11 goals, 12 assists, influence written across every competition. That is the standard he must match again if he wants to reclaim his spot, because Eze is hungry, confident, and eager to impress ahead of next summer's World Cup. Arteta will insist that Arsenal need both players at their best if they are to meet their ambitions in the months ahead. And with Kai Havertz also working his way back to full fitness, potentially slotting into midfield behind marquee striker Victor Gyökeres, the battle for places has never been fiercer at the Emirates. For Odegaard, the message is clear: he must rise to the challenge. His leadership and quality remain unquestioned, but he can no longer rely on reputation alone. If he embraces the competition and fights his way back into the side, his return could push Arsenal to even greater heights. And if the team has already reached this level without several key figures, the potential for what comes next may be even greater. Inside the club, staff members are quietly acknowledging that Arsenal are entering a new phase, one where no player, not even the captain, is immune to tactical evolution. Arteta has spent the past 2 seasons building a squad capable of sustaining pressure across multiple competitions, and the emergence of Eze is a sign that the manager's long-term planning is beginning to bear fruit. Depth is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. But with depth comes difficult decisions. Arteta has always valued balance in midfield, and the contrasting profiles of Odegaard and Eze force him to reconsider what type of midfield best suits the team's ambitions in Europe and the Premier League. The technical control and spatial awareness that Odegaard brings have defined Arsenal's identity under Arteta. Conversely, Eze's dynamism, physical presence, and unpredictable touches give Arsenal a new dimension, especially against teams that sit deep or defend aggressively in central areas. This internal shift has also caught the attention of analysts and former players. Several pundits have begun to question whether the captaincy should guarantee a place in the lineup, especially at a club with ambitions of challenging for the Champions League. Others argue that Odegaard's leadership is too valuable to sideline, pointing to the standards he sets in training and his influence over younger players. Those debates are already spilling into the media, and they will only intensify as the season progresses. There is also the tactical question of whether Arteta might eventually experiment with a system that accommodates both Ease and Odegaard, something he briefly attempted earlier in the season during the win over West Ham. But with Rice and Zubimendi forming an almost impenetrable midfield pairing, any reshuffle risks destabilizing the defensive structure that has made Arsenal one of the most resilient teams in the league. The manager has hinted that he is open to adjustments, but only if they enhance the team's overall cohesion. For Odegaard himself, the challenge is as much psychological as it is physical. He has worked hard to cultivate an image of calm authority, a leader who raises the level of those around him through clarity and consistency. Now he must show that he can adapt, compete, and respond to adversity. His teammates still speak of him with admiration, describing him as one of the most studious and detail-oriented players at London Coney. They believe that once he regains full rhythm, he will naturally reassert his influence. Yet even they acknowledge that the landscape has shifted. One senior player privately remarked that, "The team is different now, Ease has changed what we can do in the final third." That sentiment reflects not a lack of faith in Odegaard, but an understanding that Arsenal have evolved while he has been sidelined. For Arteta, the ideal scenario is straightforward, a fully fit Odegaard competing with a fully confident Ease, creating a level of internal competition that lifts the entire squad. The manager often speaks about the need for healthy tension among his players, pressure that keeps standards high without fracturing unity. The arrival of Victor Gyökeres, combined with the recovery of Havertz, only amplifies that dynamic. Arsenal's season will almost certainly hinge on these midfield decisions. With Champions League knockout matches approaching and the Premier League title race tightening, Arteta must decide not only who starts, but what kind of identity he wants his team to carry into the defining months of the campaign. The next few weeks will reveal whether Odegaard's return sparks a resurgence or a battle for relevance. If he manages to reclaim his place, it could serve as a reminder of why Arteta trusted him with the armband in the first place. If he struggles, it will underline how rapidly Arsenal are progressing, and how little room there is for sentiment at the highest level. Either way, the captain's response will shape not just his future, but the trajectory of a team that believes it is on the brink of something significant.